And welcome to Smaulgld's Central Bank of Russia Gold Reserve Update for the month of December 2016 and also for the for the year of 2016. Well, Russia did it. Russia added 199 tons of gold to her reserves in 2016, making the Russian central bank far and away the largest buyer of gold, beating China. China trailing, sadly, in second place with only 80 tons. So Russia takes the 2016 crown as the central bank adding the most gold. And that follows last year they added over 200 tons of gold, I think 215 tons. So Russia has now firmly put itself in the top 5 of gold producing nations. We're going to go through some charts very quickly. You can see them better on the Smaulgld website at smaulgld.com. There'll also be a link directly to the blog post with the Russian data. Also, for those of you interested in following Russia, China, Indian gold acquisitions, you can scroll to the website and there are sections on each of those. You got to scroll a little bit further down to see the Indian, but these numbers get updated monthly, so please subscribe to Smaulgld and you'll get them, or just visit the Smaulgld site if you're ever interested in looking at some prior months reports on the central banks of Russia, China, and gold and silver imports into India. So let's look at the year in review for Russia. The Central Bank of Russia added 6.4 million ounces, or nearly 200 tons. It's about 199 tons in 2016, which was the most of any central bank. Their holdings now are 1,614 tons, official holdings, which is, I think it says sixth most of any nations, but I think that's incorrect because I think they got the IMF in there. So if you take them out, they are indeed first, second, third, fourth. No, they are sixth. With the IMF, they're seventh. Okay, so I've always said that correctly. They are the sixth largest holder of gold. Top of the show, I said fifth, but they are the sixth largest country in terms of holding gold. They added 70% more gold than China in the last 12 months, and their overall reserves, however, in December fell to 377 billion. We're going to take a look at their overall reserve position. Gold is a percentage of reserves, and also how they're doing when holding U.S. treasuries. Well, here's a chart that shows the large acquisition spree of gold that the Central Bank of Russia has been on. They added no gold in December, however, so the year ended on a flat note, but for the year they added the full 199 tons. Here is a pitch. If you appreciate the work we're doing here at Smaulgld, to donate to Smaulgld via PayPal or Bitcoin. And I have been receiving some generous donations, so thank you very much. Here is what it looks like on a monthly basis from June to November. So you can see sometimes the Russian central bank holds off on gold purchases. I think in early 2015 they didn't buy any gold for a couple of months. It was during the sanctions period. They didn't buy any in December, but I think they probably had a goal of 200 tons this year, and they probably met it and then figured they would take a break in December. They probably had their house in order, had met their goals for the reserve position, and they also, will see, they added to their U.S. Treasury position in November. Now the November is the most recent report we have on foreign holdings of U.S. Treasuries. There's a bit of a delay from the U.S. Treasury Department on that, but they added $10 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries. We'll see that in a second, in November. So a reminder, if you're interested in buying gold or silver, please do so through the Smaulgld site. That's how Smaulgld helps pay the bills. You can compare pricing and shipping on a number of gold and silver dealers. If you do purchase through Smaulgld, through these links and the banners on the site and the links below this YouTube video, Smaulgld gets a small commission and you pay no more nor less than if you had visited these sites directly. So if you appreciate the work we do, please, either, not a recommendation to buy gold or silver, but not investment advice, but if you are interested in buying it, I will not try to dissuade you, and if I will try to persuade you to purchase through the links on Smaulgld, because you pay no more no less, and it's another way of helping the site out. As we mentioned, China, Russia, gold acquisition. Looks like Russia kind of kicked their look at that. Russia definitely added more gold during the year than China. Now that's the People's Bank of China every time I get into how much gold China has, I have to make the distinction between what is China and what is the People's Bank of China. Clearly, there's a lot more gold in China than there is at the Central Bank of China or the People's Bank of China. We're just talking about central banks, and Russia takes the official crown for adding the most gold in 2016. There's the league table for the top 10. Again, I get criticism on this chart all the time. People don't trust the numbers, don't trust official numbers. Well, I can't trust unofficial numbers because I don't have them. So I have to report what the central banks report. You could take them for whatever grain of salt, or you can trust them religiously. I'm not here to tell you anything other than this is what they say they have. I'm fully aware of the limitations on the reporting requirements of the United States gold reserves. There hasn't been an audit of Fort Knox in 50, 60 years. Germany says they have this much gold. They say they've repatriated a lot of it from the New York Fed. There's issues around all of these numbers. I know the People's Bank of China. I actually do trust the People's Bank of China numbers only because I know that there is definitely more gold produced in China, imported into China than the People's Bank of China has reported. It's just not at the People's Bank of China. And then the Russian numbers. The other thing about these numbers is with respect to China and Russia, they are like the number one and two, or maybe number one and three with China in first, gold producing nation. So they kind of accumulate their own, they eat their own supply, and that doesn't get transferred out into the free market of gold. So they add gold to the reserves from their domestic supply, which means we have to look at the rest of the gold market from transfers from Switzerland coming from other gold producers like South Africa, the United States, Canada, and the like. Now, overall Russian reserves, Russia has actually the central bank of Russia has done a good job of keeping their reserve position high. They're not going through the same turmoil that China is right now, where they're actually dumping large amounts of treasuries, they're dumping large amounts of foreign reserves to support the yuan. Russia has kind of kept, they opened the year at 371 billion, and they're going to end the year at 377 million. So they ended kind of a little bit higher than they started, not much higher, but they managed to hold on to the reserves. They added that 200 tons of gold during the year, and gold now represents about 16% of their overall foreign reserves. Let's take a look at their treasury holdings. Again, a year ago, they had fewer U.S. treasuries. They had about 80 billion worth of them. They've kind of kept that consistent throughout 2016. They actually added 10 billion from October to November 2016, from 74 or 76 billion up to 86 billion. It is down from the 131 billion, but it's still up from the 66 billion that they had in April, May of 2015. So Russia has rebuilt its reserve across the board, maintained their reserves, and increased their percentage of gold holdings. So for what it's worth, Russia seems to have managed to gotten through the sanctions and through the slamming down of the oil price over the last 18 months, and their reserve position looks fairly healthy. Just to show you what I was talking about with Russian gold mining production, they basically have been eating up and keeping within Russia most of their domestic gold supply. They have arrangements to sell the rest of it mostly to China. So that gold is not available for the rest of the world. And the same with the Chinese gold mining supply. It stays in China. Kazakhstan is a major gold producer. Their gold basically ends up at the central bank of Kazakhstan. But that about does it for today, other than coming up a couple of days ago, we released some CIA documents on their views on gold, gold manipulation, and the SDR. Tomorrow we will have a second in that series on the CIA and gold, and we will be covering the period just prior to Nixon breaking up the Bretton Woods Agreement, taking the U.S. off the gold standard, closing the gold window, and we'll see some interesting insights from the CIA, as well as some interesting data that I think up till now wasn't available until these documents came out. So please be sure to check that out tomorrow. And thank you very much for listening. And please sign up to get updates from Smaulgld.com by filling in your email address up at the top of Smaulgld.com. Also, please subscribe to this channel, and thanks for listening.